Ladies and gents, welcome back. We are back once again with some more ACCL action. Iniquity, the team that we watched over yesterday. Pablo played very well up against a team that we don't really know too much about. Obviously, some recognisable names in the roster of Valravn, but it's again one where not necessarily we can't be too heavily opinionated on them really, because we don't really have much to go from. So what we do know though is that they've got a difficult opposition across the other side of them today.
Yeah, and Iniquity is going to be tidy opposition for anyone who's going to come up against them. But yeah, not a lot known about Valravn ESports. And again, some recognisable names, but I think we may have cast over Scrapper in Cold War, like back in the day. The name rings a bell vaguely. But again, I think it's just, this is, it's great for us. We just like to cast over new talent and see what these guys are going to be made of. And they're going to be coming up against a very solid four-piece. And this is going to be a good test for the new foursome.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what the rosters are, the boys of Iniquity, obviously JT, Kez, Cruel and Destroy, who obviously came off the back of a really strong trio yesterday, and Valravn ESports, and all that we've not even come across actually, to be fair, is Kita, Scrapper, Portal and Genji. And our map set for this game, Pablo, it's not really letting us in very easily, is it? A double Bocage, a Tuscan, and then we have the slower maps. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the boys of Iniquity get on in this one, because the games that we saw them in yesterday with the Gavutu, the Desert Siege and the Tuscan, they were obviously the more slower paced maps of the lot. But obviously in this one now we get to see them pretty much ramp it to the max against the boys with a double Bocage.
I don't think you could pick a quicker first three maps. I don't think it's actually possible to do so. So, this could potentially be like, depending on how Valravn are able to deal with Iniquity. If they come at this all wrong, this could be a 35-minute game. It's got the potential, especially at the kind of pace for Bocage and that. But let's fingers crossed Valravn are going to surprise and just book the odds, I suppose, and give us a game. Last night, we fully expected the opposition to do okay. They had some much more recognisable names, but again, as a kind of less cohesive four-piece, they kind of got bodied quite readily, and Iniquity just looks super strong.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how consistent this Iniquity roster team is, because, to be fair, when they played the likes of Ben Wilson yesterday, I forget their organisation, Excalibur, that's the one.
Excalibur it was, yeah.
On paper, that Excalibur roster was a very, very strong one. So to come out with the 3-0, albeit some of the maps very, very close. Obviously, the Search and Destroy, they did look very good, though. I think 6-2 on the Desert Siege with the hard point, 250 to 230 sticks. It's going to be whether or not this team can be consistent enough, you feel, really, across the games. Because on paper, this roster has got a lot of talent. We saw what Destroy can do in respawns yesterday. We know what Kez and JT provide. And Cruel, somebody who we haven't really seen a huge amount of, looked very good yesterday as well. So there wasn't really a man on that team that had even like a ropey map per se. But if they can keep that up, then they're going to be well and truly in the driving seat in this Group B.
The only thing I would say is that the Gavutu hardpoint, there was a little bit of complacency crept in towards the final rotation, and the end of the second rotation, beginning of P1 on the third, they just kind of took the foot off the gas and let like an 80-point lead slip. And they probably, Destroy isn't going to keep up the pace he did at the start, but that is kind of overall probably a little bit of complacency. What just seemed to be really apparent was the communication was absolutely nailed on. So if the four-piece in Valravn, they're going to make mistakes, they're going to get punished in any way. But again, this could upset the apple cart. These could be just four absolute lunatics on the stick. So, we could be walking into something that we haven't come across before. So, again, it's great to have an unknown quantity, because so often when we try and predict a game with players that we know, they the card gets thrown out the window because we just get it wrong. This game's been wild.
I was going to say, a prime example of kind of players coming in and having no idea where they've come from is Kez himself when he was on that Sensei roster. Obviously, they weren't under the name of Sensei during Cold War when they came onto the scene, but obviously you look at what Higgy's doing now. Scotty and Scooty, very established players now within the ACCL in top teams. And Kez, here he is again in the Super League again, showing us what he can do. So it's an opportunity again we'll sit back, watch this Valravn ESports roster and pretty much just see what they've got for us, really. Say nothing to go from, but we've had this quite a few times in Vanguard where we've had kind of blank slates. Obviously right at the start of the game, vitalized lads, we obviously didn't really know a huge amount of them as soon as they first started playing, and then we got to know them very, very well, obviously through ES Hub and various other games. And there's been a lot of players in Vanguard that have kind of come through and really made a name for themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me here if these boys have they've seen the Super League, they've seen the prize pool and the players that they're up against. So you'd think they're very good players if they're going to go straight in at the deep end with this one. So you'd expect kind of a good fight at least from these lads.
I think there's just one thing it's really odd for us is I think there's kind of a blind spot in our player knowledge in that you've got like players who solely play Charles and CMG and those kind of events don't really dip the toe into the ACCL or haven't before, and we might see the occasional the name pop up on Twitter, but we don't get to cast over them. So I think we're slowly starting to see a bit more respect being put on the name of the ACCL, as we see in like, you know, players that just would not have played last year starting to play in the Super League, as they realise that A, there's a huge prize pool to play for, and B, they're going to be getting essentially what is good scrims as well as good competitive games. So it's definitely, you know, I think we're starting to see that little transition and that little blind spot of ours just slowly starting to come into view.
Yeah, so apologies guys, we are just waiting on the boys to get ready. They're pretty much just waiting on one player. And we should be ready to go. But obviously, for anyone who is just jumping on board, we've got another group game here in the ACCL, and our map set for this one: double Bocage, Tuscan, Gavutu, Hardpoint, and Berlin. So, I mean, if the first map goes in the way of Iniquity, and it's barely one-sided, Pablo, looking towards, it looks as though from what we saw yesterday, kind of those later maps, at least from the maps that we saw yesterday, look as though they're probably going to be Iniquity's stronger map set. I mean, we've not seen them on Bocage. It might have been a case of this is their stronger map, and the others that we saw yesterday might be their weaker. But kind of with the ability they've got in the arsenal with this team of 4, especially Destroy kind of running that main AR role, it looks as though if he can put up those consistent numbers, because he has been very consistently performing. Obviously, Cold War when he was on the roster with Broke, and those lads obviously now coming through again in this game. He's shown that he can do it over a couple of titles. So you would again kind of, we don't like to put too much expectation on players, but he's one that you're going to be looking to, especially in terms of slaying in Respawn, to be one of those players.
I think you're talking about the end of the game there, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it, because we know Bocage just, you try and predict that even the teams that haven't been playing together that long can get a result out the blue on Bocage. It's such an odd map, and maybe the change in S&D will be interesting for us, because this will be the first time we've seen cast over. Well, it'll be the first time I've cast over an S&D with the new A bomb site, which is now exposed. So that'll be interesting. I think the first 2 maps, it'll be interesting just to see how strong Iniquity are. If they dominate, I think Bocage, they're looking, you know, we've seen them across quite a nice map set then, and really across most of the potential banana skins that they could come across. So if they do well on those 2, I think they're going to shape up to be, you know, potentially the favourites for this particular group. But again, Bocage, both S&D and Hardpoint, I mean, anything can actually happen. You know, you can get a 4-piece that have never played before, and they can, as long as they got reasonable gun skill and good rotation, and they're able to just contest more than anything else. I think, you know, we could see a surprise in that sense. But yeah, if it does, say if it's 1-0 or 2-0, 1-1 or 2-0 as we hit the Tuscan control, you know, those last 2 maps are, you know, very shaping up to be Iniquities. They just look so solid on them.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to one of my hard carries in rank play, Mr. Africano wants the major suit. Thank you very much, buddy. Hope you're well. So yeah, guys, we do finally have our team of 8 players in this one, so we should be pretty much good to go for our map one on the Bocage Hardpoint. But yeah, the search and destroy, Pablo, obviously that bomb now, it's been moved outside. It feels as though kind of there's a lot more opportunity for players to try and get the bomb down. But saying that, I don't know if you saw much of it yesterday from the remaining parts of the elites. That back tank, you can pretty much see straight onto the bomb. So it's kind of it's one where it's great that it's out of the building, but it's in an even more exposed position now from the defensive side for somebody just to sit literally at that back tank and kind of pick them off as they try and get the bomb down. So not necessarily favouring the attacking side a huge amount.
I think they've tried to push. So I think what they've looked at is bomb plant stats, you know, from inside the server, and I think they've realised that literally like 98% of bomb plants initially, without any kind of transition needed, is going over to A. So they've tried to find a way to balance that map a little bit better, so that B is an option from the outset, as opposed to it being like, oh shit, we can't get B, let's go around and try and get. We can't get A, let's go around and get B. So I think it's just a way to try and push players from the off to try and get that B plant down and just make it a bit more balanced. But we'll see how it goes. Bocage Hardpoint, though, mate, we just know it's horse racing commentary at its best.
Yeah, I was going to say, literally P1, it's kind of one where people forget about P1 almost at this stage. You see kind of like that huge battle over towards P2 pretty much throughout the entirety of P1. It's one where I suppose you can say that whenever you do see a team do well on P1, you kind of sit back and you say, oh, fair enough, you've got arguably a few more seconds that you probably shouldn't have got. That we normally tend to see a lot of teams just bun it off and go straight to the next one. I think actually we're going to see a map restart anyways. But yeah, it's one where P1 you kind of forget about, but the good teams, to be fair, do manage to scrape quite a few seconds off of that P1. Especially, I've noticed it recently. A lot of teams have been very happy to almost hold that P2 side, but push up quite a few players and try and get that player blocking the spawn and spawning them right at the back of grannies. So it's something that, as the game has developed, it's something that we've seen a little bit more of recently, I think.
Yeah, especially if you're starting back grannies, if you're spawning out there, if you can get a team wipe in that first interaction, you can have a player that pushes right up that left-hand field, almost up to the very front tank, and you can have that cut across this diagonal across mid. You've got map control almost completely, and you can take almost the whole amount of time on that P1 hill, and you've still got spawns for P2. So it relies on that first wipe of players and getting that control. So that's what makes it quite difficult to do. You do see obviously teams with incredible strength and gun skill are able to do that. There's a few different ways to control that kind of hill as well, but obviously in the main, when you get teams with equal gun skill, they're basically playing chess to get to that P2 and get that kind of try and make up the scrap time that they've missed out on P1 and try and get into the lead as early as possible.
Yeah, we've seen...
Apologies, everyone. My voice is totally
No, it's all right. While all that was happening, mate, I was literally just choking into the microphone. Luckily, I hit the mute button just before I was coughing my guts up. But, yeah, no, it definitely feels though on Bocage, some of the teams that do very, very well on it as well almost have that kind of that free roaming player. We've seen Dave kind of do very well on a Bocage hard point where literally the team will allow him to just go around and do what he does. And it's kind of like with obviously from one extreme to another, the boys of Rocker, when you see them play it, it's not necessarily the most structured approach to the map. Obviously Real is a player that they just say go ahead and do your thing. I don't know if you saw his 4-man wipe on the Search and Destroy against the Ultra Lads yesterday. So obviously when you've got kind of a player of that ability that you can just let off the leash and say, right, just roam around and just kill things, because Bocage, it definitely favours those more aggressive players who are happy to just hit roots, because there's so much opportunity to get good timing and subsequently flip out spawns almost as soon as you've lost them. You could just win them back again.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see that obviously. The Rocker guys are a good example where you'll get someone like Metals who won't do spectacularly well on kills. He'll just get the OBJ time or lucky, and you've got a player like Real or Journey who can just go off and just get hundreds of kills. We should really see that. Probably going to see that from Destroy, and again, Cruel yesterday just doing very similar kind of job. So expect to see those guys put up some big numbers. I think it was Destroy and Cruel, but obviously this is the case with this team. Like JT's no slouch, fried at the start of the year, and he's still capable of putting stupid numbers up. And then you've got Kez. I mean, it seems daft not to bring Kez up as well. Once he starts frying as well, this potentially could get very, very difficult for Valravn if they don't get to grips with this game, particularly early on, and really don't shape up well in P1 and P2. This could run away from them very quickly.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see how kind of this SMG duo of Kez and JT works out, because obviously JT is a much more, I'd say, a big brain SMG player. He's never really one that throws himself in and around the map, gets a lot of deaths. He's one that, especially in the game modes like Control, like Search and Destroy, he's very, very good at playing his life, whereas Kez is kind of more that lights out raw aggression SMG. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of find that balance between the two of them, where one player is potentially learning of the other, if kind of JT can kind of learn that fast-paced game style from Kez, and subsequently if Kez can pick up kind of the more casual approach and slower pace of JT, but then subsequently make those big game plays, almost, it feels as though. So it'll be an interesting balance to see whether these two, especially on a map like Bocage, you can't really ask for a better platform really to see how these SMG players are pretty much straight off the rip.
Yeah, and the first two players who get kills are Kez and JT. They're just letting us know what they are all about early doors. I'm going to try and get some kills over towards Barn straight away, but a great point as well. I think the thing with JT is that he's a very communicative player, so he's going to spend a lot of time trying to communicate positions and trying to dictate a little bit of strategy. So that in itself might hinder him or slow him down a little bit in the MP40 stakes. But again, back and forth right now in some solid time, going the way of Iniquity in blue, but it's still a little too tight at the minute. No one really getting control of P1, and it does look like the battle is going to go down major towards P2. And just when you think Valravn were about to get control, and you see that player towards the back there, just number 7, just hiding inside JT himself, the big brain, as you pointed out earlier on.
Yeah, and JT just going to still be lurking around the back here, and he's going to get really good timing potentially on the Scrapper. So there's a second in a row for JT. There is another man out the back, and JT has arrived already straight off the rips of Bocage. A nice couple of kills coming through in quick succession. They are still spawning out the back, but they've got to be careful, though, because Cruel, a man that we flagged up yesterday, Pablo, is one who's kind of come out the... we haven't really seen a huge amount of him, to be fair, this year in Vanguard, but he definitely looks as though he's been a good shoo-in for this team of 3 with Destroy, JT, and Kez, and it looks as though he's the man potentially that might be running that flex role. But I mean, regardless, at the moment, he is absolutely lights out, 6-1, and Destroy is just beat up, not really doing much. And
10-second lead. Destroy hasn't even got into the game. 0-6 and only 2 seconds on. Destroy definitely wanting to get involved, but right now doesn't need to. His teammates around him slaying out heavily. JT grabbing a solid like 7 kills, 5 deaths, but Cruel, yeah, it's someone we pointed out yesterday as well. It's someone, yeah, you're quite right. We haven't had a chance to cast over him, and it's really nice to see, especially someone just come in and just be as competent as he has been. He gets another pick there. He does finally get taken down by Scrapper. And on the other side of Valravn, nice and even scores. No one really slacking. Portal is probably the closest to struggle bus material on a 4-7, but again, it's very early doors. We're only into the P3 on this first rotation, but Iniquity just slowly but surely starting to creep that lead out. But Major, one thing I would say is the fear we had was that this might be a bit of a blowout for the boys from Valravn, but right now only a 15-second lead, and it's looking, you know, really nicely contested.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that at the moment, Destroy really hasn't got going, so if he manages to start joining the party with a lot of kills, this might get a little bit worrying here for Valravn. Destroy is going to get in towards the hill, and JT is going to be there with him. There's still quite a big chunk of time here. Is Leon going to check his corners? No, he's not, so he's going to get taken down. Actually, apologies. I was going to say... Leon TBE living rent-free in my head, but it was Lion who's going to fall on that occasion. But the boys of Valravn, they are reducing this lead down pretty well at the moment. Portal's not going to be able to grab any more kills, though. But you can see already those players over towards the new hill. It's going to be those blue arrows of Iniquity ESports that are going to have to try and make the break. You can see there's quite a large spread of players on the defensive side, Pablo. They've pretty much got every lane covered, and fair play to them at the moment. They are getting the kills to go with it as well.
Yeah, a beautiful setup. They've got a player watching Trench who's been really effective in Scrapper, and then they've got number 3 there, Dome, just over towards backfield, just waiting for anyone pushing potentially from front barn. He's just watching those stairs, and that's going to be another big kill. Dome drops Cruel there, and it's a really nice hold, and they've taken the lead. So Valravn proving that they are no slouches in the holding of P3, and this is a really difficult one. This is generally a highly contested kill. We usually see the barn kind of kill feed back and forth, and right now that's been really, really well contested, well held by Valravn. Finally, it is going to be broken. It's going to take basically a change in spawn for the boys from Iniquity to be able to get back on, but they are only going to be able to get the final 18 or so seconds. So Major, really nice plays, and not just about battling for kills and maybe going toe-to-toe, but a really nice setup and showing that they've put some actual solid time and strategic effort into their gameplay, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and it looks as though they're going to try and break it from the back. Dome, though, is he going to check the corner? Yes, he is. So he manages to snap onto Destroy, who was just trying to work his way around the back of him. Kez, though, is going to get some good timing and surely take him down. So some nice shots there from Kez. The Automaton is going to be in hand, but his teammates, meanwhile, doing it from the front of the hill. So Kez at the moment has got a really good opportunity just to try and disrupt those players from getting over towards him. It looks as though Scrapper is going to have none of that as he takes him down, but still, the time is ticking for the boys of Iniquity Esports. They are really starting to accumulate a decent amount of time. Scrapper, apologies, with a second as well. Really good work. 17-9 from him at the moment, looking as though he's coming through with an absolute lights out performance at the moment. There's still 25 seconds worth of scrap time, which is Iniquity. They're going to obviously be fighting for pretty much every single second of it. Has got some good timing here. No, number 3 and Dome's going to shoot him straight in the back. And with that scrap time, Pablo, it's going to pretty much bring us back round onto P1 on the second rotation with nothing separating these guys.
Yeah, and Portal doing a big job going over to the back of Tin and trying to get spawn set up for the P1, and they're going to try and get that control we talked about before the game started. Now, it is slightly different to the first rotation of hills. You know, if you're able to get the kills now in transition, in setup, then you can get that solid hold to P1, but it does look like it's going to go down to a contest, as we do see the kill feed go back and forth between the blue and the red guys. So right now, 14 seconds. Again, this game being very, very closely fought. And you would suggest it really is only down to the heroics of those 3 players, in Cruel, JT, and Kez, that's separating the boys. Scrapper, you know, carrying the heavy load right now for Valravn, but again, Destroy, he's massively on the struggle bus right now, just not able to get into the game, neither with kills or time, really. So, a bit of a problem for Iniquity, but again, if they can get him, I mean, Major, the question is, he's been rocking the AR. Is it time for him maybe to just throw on the MP40 and run a 4 SMG meta just for Bocage, just to see if he can get himself into the game?
Well, we've seen quite a few teams, actually, that will run 4 SMGs for some of the hills. I mean, on towards that kind of that bottom granny side. unless you're holding pretty much an entire lane, which it looks as though that's what Destroyer is going to be doing, just watching kind of over that right-hand side, over towards P2 as Dome. Nice work, grabs a couple of kills. He will fall to the shots of Kez, but yeah, at the moment, it's difficult to say, really, because you don't want to kind of give up that opportunity to lock down those important lanes. We kind of talk over towards P2 and kind of that lane subsequently that a lot of AR players can do a lot of good work on. I mean, one player that springs to mind over towards that back tank area is Snake. I mean, we've seen the impact that he can actually have on a blockage. So yeah, it's one where I still think run it. I think maybe it's a case of Destroyer even needs to try and just lock up those lanes and be a bit more persistent and a bit more stiff on the map rather than trying to take some potential gunfights which are a bit more difficult to win. But at the moment, Iniquity, I mean, say all it's going to take really is him to spring to life, and this lead really might start getting pushed out by quite a significant amount. Because I mean, you look at the moment, pretty much 30 points, and Destroyer is, as you say, really struggling. But on the flip side, Mr. JT is loving it. He's loving life at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. 25 and 19, but not just that. A solid 1 minute and 4 seconds. Cruel is going to get tagged up as he drops Scrapper line with a nice quick trade there. Being a bit of a scrappy setup towards this bottom grannies as both teams looking to try and angle and kind of jockey each other to try and get position. Kez is going to make his way around the back. This could be a good opportunity right now for the boys from Iniquity to pinch in and get some control. And we can see that player towards the back. Kez again, back tank, looking to get those kills. He does drop one player, but he finally gets taken down by Dome, so this is an opportunity to push through. But look at that player towards Plat. Destroy, you know, it mightn't be the biggest set of kills, but he manages to get some valuable shots towards the back of Grannies. And this is the first time we've seen a really solid hold on a kill for a long time, Major. This has been a really good, like, 40 seconds so far from these boys. Oh my days, I thought JT was going to roll back the years there and just drop 3 people in a go. But yeah, huge plays right there, and that's been a really solid hill for the boys from Iniquity.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was almost like a trademark JT hill, that one, just staying alive through all the carnage and picking up the kills to go with it. So really good work from Iniquity. Now sees them 50 points to the good as we go over towards that barn hill. But now, will they manage to stop the potential break here? You can see number 4 Portal, though. He's going to get sniffed out and drops, and now crawl over towards the top side of barn. Can he manage to at least take the man out of the hill? And oh, Kez, that is not a great nade. Just slaps it straight onto the lap of his teammate, and it looks as though they will still manage to get a lot of control in the back. Portal's going to fall. It looks as though his teammate in line will go down as well. So at the moment, this is starting to look a little bit worrying here for Valravn. They've managed to keep up the pace in the early stages, but now look at the boys of Iniquity, and especially JT, 34 and 22 from Mr. Tizzle. He is having an absolute whale of a time, and it looks as though with 30 seconds on this hill, Pablo, Valravn really can't afford to give them this.
Yeah, and I mean, I would suggest, you know, from that P3 in the second rotation, Valravn just started to look a lot looser, a little more complacent in the way that they're approaching the kills. And obviously, Grannies remains kind of highly contested, but boys from Iniquity doing very well as they push over the 200-point mark, and they're going to head back into Grannies to get control for P5 and try and get in and around that trench. We can see those players in red making their way around the back. A big fight about to go down as Cruel does make his way up behind Lion. Is he going to get that pick? Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. He nearly goes for the 2-piece, and that player does make his way into kitchen to kind of like relieve himself and get some health back up there. But number 7 is going to be JT, just holding down that line over towards Battle. He gets taken down, but the support from Cruel Major is there, and again this P5 already looking like a solid kill potentially for Iniquity as they are literally 25 seconds away from taking map 1.
Yeah, and I mean, we did call it. Destroyer's managed to get himself pretty much back into the game here as he's now almost pretty much even. So the struggles that he had off the rip are now completely gone, and the time has just completely swung in favor of Iniquity. There's another couple of kills coming through from JT. Pistol, SMG, you name it. He will do it for you, and only 7 seconds left, and JT is just going on an absolute tear, and he kills absolutely everything that moves, and oh my goodness, what an end to a map there. Mr. JT, the highlight reel, providing a cracking ending for us there. But 250 to 138, Pablo. Good map from Iniquity, but Valravn, that middle portion of the game, they just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I mean, JT literally went full ginger at the end. Scumpy moments right there, but he's just dropping players at will. But, I mean, you've just got to look at that 43 and 26 with 28 non-traded kills. The guy put 1 minute 50 on the clock as well. JT, take a bow, son, because that was a really close game before they got into that middle portion of the second rotation. And really, Valravn just started to fall apart. They weren't setting up as effectively as they did in the first rotation. We could start to see them just starting to kind of hill feed as such, where they're just going in one at a time and getting taken down, you know, not really setting up good positive trades, which they were doing in the first rotation. So again, just a little bit of complacency creeps in, and Iniquity just stays strong right the way through, and it pays dividends, as that's a solid 112-second lead right there. You know, at one point there was only, you know, 5 or 6 seconds in that game.
Yeah, I'd say when JT does that kind of stuff on a respawn, you do worry, because normally S&D, if I'm picking one, I'd say that's his stronger game mode, to be honest. So if he's come out firing like that and shot all the bots ready to go, then yeah, this is going to be difficult for Valravn. But something we talk about all the time, Pablo, is one where we go from one absolute battering over to one where a team can bring it back. And a huge shout out there to Mr. Prezi with the gifted sub. Thank you very much, brother.
I just love that person who's just subscribed.
Oh my days, what a name. But yeah, this is an opportunity for Valravn to see what these boys have got on the search and destroy, because we've seen it so many times where one team will get blown out the water in a hard point, as Valravn did, especially towards the kind of the middle and the later portions of the game. But they still have an opportunity to tie it back up here, and all of a sudden we're back to evens again.
Yeah, but they've got to play against the player that we would normally say is an S&D specialist has just dropped 46 kills in a hard point, and we know he's no slouch in S&D, and despite, you know, whatever kind of like prejudices we've got about Bocage as a map, you know, he will take this as an S&D game regardless. He will probably apply the same kind of strategies he would do on medium-sized and large-scale maps. So he'll look to get bomb site control, look to get 1 or 2 picks so that they can get that bomb site control. So again, this is going to be a worry for the boys from Valravn. You've got to ask the question, if they aren't able to bounce back from here, are they going to be able to deal with a strong Iniquity side on you know, in a Tuscan control, where they were absolutely flying yesterday? So really, it's vital major that they take this game if they want to stay in the series.
Yeah, so we are now loading in towards the Bocage search and destroy. Obviously, bomb site being moved over towards that platform area, Pablo, is essentially the highlight, I suppose you would say. Oh, we are going to have a restart to the lobby. But yeah, that flat side now is going to be pretty much the carnage area. We saw it in Elites yesterday. When we saw the Bocage search and destroys being played, so now it definitely feels as though the person with the bomb site, at least when you were inside, you felt like you got a little bit of cover, but when you're on that platform, nade, a person back tank, you've got so many opportunities to get picked off. So those players who do run the bomb are going to do really, really well to stay alive over to that side. But we might start to see a bit more of a switch towards the B approach because of that.
I think the worst thing is that the bomb being indoors, what it did favour the bomb carrier was he could get bomb down, and staying in the bomb site was a legitimate tactic. Like staying in to get a pick, or get you know, the person that pushes through, or the person that pushes through to trade as well. Getting at least 1 pick allowed then your teammates to potentially push on in. Right now, you've not just got to get the bomb planted, but you've got to get off that platform and find somewhere to watch bomb. And it's a small map. Like, they're going to swarm over you almost immediately. Getting information is going to be pretty easy. So really, it comes down to the strategy of where do you go once you've planted the bomb. And you know, when you get into these weird situations where it's 2v2 and not necessarily the whole team, that makes it that much more difficult as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see whether teams kind of play a bit more of a cautious approach with grenades, because normally on a Bocage, right off the rip, you get at least 3 or 4 that just kind of get willy-nilly thrown over the top of the map and kind of hope to see if you can land something. But obviously with the bombs being out in the open now, it would more benefit teams to maybe off the rip, if you're going to play for info, play for a stun, maybe hold on to the nade, because if you can try and get that man on plat, if he's getting bombed down and he's managing to stay behind it, we've seen it a lot of times even on the Tuscan, if you hold on to the nades and manage to time them well for when they're actually going to commit the bomb rather than just launching them kind of aimlessly, you can really get a good amount of kills, especially on some of these smaller, closer quarter maps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a potential strategic change right there. We're so used to seeing grannies become kind of the tennis net for grenades. People just launching over back grannies and over front grannies to try and tie people up with stuns and then potentially get the nades on. That might be a complete change, and obviously with there being no trophy as well. But again, that might also just push people out to B because of that ability. It's got that element of shelter almost with that high wall that you get the bomb down, you've at least got somewhere you can go, you can cover stairs, you can get straight back down trench, or you can try and make that dash to tunnel or L. So again, might make B just that more attractive bomb site to go to. And I mean, you know, technically speaking, if you look at what's available to you once you've planted the bomb on A, I mean, you've got to make that push up plat. Maybe I've seen players going inside the old bomb site who just get ruined. They get absolutely decimated as that plat gets flooded, trying to make your way out back, and by that point you've got players maybe flanking around. So I think it's a less attractive bomb site now, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to Mr. Felix. I missed his sub. Thank you very much, Felix. And, thank you very much, brother. An absolute feeling. What an absolute feeling. Just seeing him casually running games with Snake Cod as well. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to get hoovered up instantly on the next Call of Duty, but I have a feeling it will
He's getting hoovered up immediately.
Yeah, it'll be very quick. Like any top 16 team will probably be looking at Felix and saying, okay, he's 18 now. Let's get him on the side and get him in 2Ks. Thank you very much, Felix, for the resub, brother, and premium gas. Only to the.
Thank him for the advice. He's changed my game for me. So nice one, Felix.
Well, headshots only, mate. That's very sad. That is
headshots
very sad.
Only, man. I just live on the free for all. Headshots only.
So just a quick heads up as well. One of the players on the side of Valravn, they are currently having issues with the loading in at the moment. So one of them is quickly just changing accounts. So because apparently it's BattleNet lock when players have the freezing issue. I don't know if you've seen it, Pablo, on Tuscan, Bocage, and Berlin Hardpoint. So it's Bocage Search, Tuscan Control, and Berlin Hardpoint, which I think we have. We literally have all three of those. So the all three maps and game modes that it does not work on.
Berlin Search. It's Berlin Search. We're good.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah. Okay, we've got one lifeline there. But yeah, so unfortunately, guys, we are going to have a little bit of a break while we just wait for that player just to quickly log into another account. Hopefully, he can subsequently join in and get ready to go. But yeah, map 2.
I can't believe you've got another account to log into, isn't it? Because that would screw me completely.
Yeah, I think he's using one of his mates. You have to do like a free agent account post on Twitter and see if anyone will let you have it. So yeah, hopefully we can get it sorted out straight away. But yeah, that map 2, Pablo, Bocage Search and Destroy again. Still going to be relatively fast paced, but we do kind of get that odd calm before the storm, don't we? Before anyone makes that push. It's almost as though a lot of teams kind of bait out that first blood before they optimally commit to one of the sites. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's going to be kind of a similar situation here where it's very, very quiet, very, very quiet, and then boom, clusterfuck, everyone's running around shooting, and then next thing you know, round's over.
I think the thing for me is because we haven't cast over Valravn before, is one of these players going to pull out a sniper? That would be interesting to see, that level of confidence. You know, totally scrap game 1. Forget about the fact that you went down by over 100 points. You know, let's get into game 2 and, run the sniper. Let's just see if we can get some world stars out. Maybe just put a bit of pressure back on Iniquity. I don't think it's probably the best idea, especially after that kind of first one, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see it. But I think, we know what to expect from Bocage. It's going to be 20 seconds of caution and then kill feeds just back and forth until we get a winner. But again, and that's why we like Bocage as a caster and viewer, I suppose, because that lends itself to potentially these guys being able to bring this back to 1-1 because it has got that element of chaos. It does come down to those twitchy gun skills, twitchy reactions. Especially if they put the opposition Iniquity under some pressure where they haven't got bomb site control and they kind of find themselves in odd positions, it's a good opportunity for them to just get back into this, and that makes Tuscan Control that bit more interesting. And it also means that we're going to go then see that Gavutu hardpoint. So it really could, the options are endless. And again, it's this has only really been this kind of game and this kind of difficulty as a caster predicting in Vanguard, because last year I felt like we could call it early all the time. We know who was going to win the game based on the experience. Statistics would lead the way. We had a much more settled map set, a larger map base as well. So it's a bit of a wild one at the minute, the Wild West for casters and predicting.
I think it was maybe,
unless you see the or Prezi and they just seem to be able to do it.
I think it was B-Sport Josh that brought it up, was the fact that we've literally only got 2 control maps. Normally it's a case of when you do the ban and veto process, you ban one and then another team will pick one, especially on a control on that game 3. But at the moment it's just like you pick one. That's all you can do. It's odd that we don't kind of have that third control, because it feels as though if we had something that was kind of an additional factor for some of these teams, because you kind of know it's not really much of a surprise when you get the map sets come through. There's very rarely a map set that you look at now and go, oh, that's a bit of a surprise, because the map pool at the moment is currently so small. You don't get kind of those X factors of, oh, okay, this might be a bit of a game changer. It's kind of a lot of, obviously, we get, 4 hard points, 4 searches, so that's fair enough, but kind of control at the moment is Bocage or Gavutu, Bocage Tuscan or Gavutu, apologies. So it's one where you just feel if you get that third control map in, it feels as though maybe the balancing might be a bit more better for those kind of those vetoes and those bans.
I think not just the depth in control, but an extra map in both hardpoint and search would probably help as well, just so that it would give the opportunity to learn a whole new map set, to maybe drop Desert Siege out, which is definitely not very favourable among a lot of teams. And obviously Bocage as well is not really an S&D we see that often, to be perfectly honest. In fact, I'd say we see Siege a little bit more. We are going to finally get underway, and I think it is going to be, it's going to be, who was it prior to this? Keto, Lion, no?
No,
Lima's the player that's changed over.
It was Genji, who's now Lima. So Lima's the new account, that player. But I'll tell you what, names aside, it's now going to be Lion who's the last man up. And wow, well, that was a quick round and a very efficient round there from Iniquity. I don't think they even dropped a life.
Genji had a different name as well in that last game, didn't he? This is how bad my memory is.
But, right,
yeah,
actually.
I mean, yeah, he had a different name initially. Irrespective, apologies. It's just the case of the caster wanting the stats and information. But again, we talked about, you know, a slightly cautious start. We'll throw that one out the window. They just decided to jump straight into the middle of the map, and Iniquity just absolutely body the hell out of Valravn. And that's welcome to S&D against Iniquity, boys. You're going to have to pick the pace up, and you're going to have to be that little bit more accurate. These are the very aggressive side, and they're going to be ready to pick those kind of like well-known pre-fire spots. Cruel already looking to deal with that, man. I think it is Portal towards the back, and they does miss no one with first blood yet as we approach the 1 minute 10 mark, and you can see those players in and around that A platform site. You're going to see Lima with a pretty easy opportunity, and Major, he gets first blood for Valravn.
Yeah, JT is going to get the bomb down over towards his backside, and now this is the part with the new changes. Oh, but I'll tell you what, they're falling by the wayside. Scrapper's going to grab both players, and now all of a sudden, Kez, last man up, he's going to have to work some wonders here. He's going to fly straight in towards Kitchen. He's not going to win that one, so a good recovery round there from the boys of Valravn, and Scrapper. 3 kills on the board for him. Good work there by the boys in red, and they will tie it back up to 1 apiece. So it looks as though Pablo at the moment, a bit of a stalemate in terms of kind of feeling each other out for what they're going to kind of do on these attacking rounds and these defensive rounds in the early stages.
Yeah, but very aggressive from the outset. And Scrapper carrying on the form from the hardpoint over. He played so well in that initial Bocage hardpoint, but he looks very comfortable on this map. So carrying through. Nice to see some good comms as well, Kez getting dealt with in Kitchen. Probably, I mean, it's not the most difficult set of comms to give, but at least we know that they are communicating effectively and getting those picks, and that just allows them to take that round and tie things back up. It is going to be like Lima with bomb, and again, it's still that A bomb site, Major, being the preference, regardless of how open it is. It's still the preferred bomb site so far. We're going to see a nade just going over towards, I think it's Kez just in the corner there, but again, no first blood as we hit the 1 minute mark, and Lima with bomb.
Yeah, this is the thing where you can see around those players. But number 4, Portal's got some good timing onto Kez, and the team shots come through. But meanwhile, Crawl's going to take down 1, so now 2 versus 3 in a few seconds. As now JT and Destroy going to be left in the 2 versus 3 situation. But here's the door open. JT's going to get some shots into Portal, and he gets the pick, and he will get away with his life. This is the thing that we flag up JT as being so good at, is getting that pick and getting away with his life, even with a low time to kill. And now got another gunfight up against Rapper. He's going to be tucked. Did he spot him? I think he did spot him. They've got to be careful, though, because Destroy is going all the way around the back, and JT's going to take down 1, and now surely is Destroy going to check his left-hand side. He's going to run straight past him. So Lima just got to play this patiently. He gets 1 pick, but now JT knows where he is. 26 seconds left on the clock. Oh, JT. Oh, no. He needs to borrow my goggles. Oh, he does see him eventually in the beams. There you go. That's going to be enough for JT as he gets 3 in a row himself. JT providing some more search and destroy plays, grabbing the bomb defuse as well, and now they will regain the lead.
I've got to say, one of the things that's nice when you watch JT playing S&D is patience is paramount. He will sit and wait. He'll wait for a player to either make a noise or make a push and get that 1 kill. He'll take that kind of a player at a time. Sometimes players try and corral the opposition, or you're just kind of aimless. JT always feels like there's a plan in mind, but a really good place from him there just to give them the lead from a position where they really shouldn't have got it, and Destroy again on the struggle bus a little bit. This has not been the greatest set of games for him so far. JT though 3-1 right now, but you cannot write Valravn. Lion probably the player on the struggle bus the most, 0-3 right now. And they are going to get the pre-fires in, and it's going to be a big kill for Portal. Very aggressive play. Is he going to get the turn? He does get dealt with by JT. JT traded out by Scrapper, and Lion is going to give them the man advantage, or 2-man advantage, as Destroy the player on the 1 and 2 right now. Maybe this could be a big confidence booster for him. Unfortunately not. As I say that, he gets absolutely bodied, top man.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to Mr. Jakob with the 3 gifted. Thank you very much, Jake. And I know one of your favourite players. Suey. Thank you very much, brother, for the 3 gifted. What a handsome man. It puts him number 1 again. Was that the reason you did it, Jake? I have a feeling you literally just wanted to tip it and go number 1 again for gifted. But thank you very much, brother. What an absolute legend. So now in towards round number 5 we go. Valravn, though, going to argue their case, manage tie it back up once again. We haven't really seen a B push as of yet, Pablo. We've seen a couple of players, though, get quite a lot of success, actually, from pinching round that side of the map. It looks as though Kez is going to try and work that himself here, actually. Portal, though, is going to be smart to it, and nice work there from Portal. First blood again for Valravn. It looks as though they're slowly starting to feel their way back in towards this search and destroy and kind of playing the more patient approach, and it's definitely paying off for them at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. A big fight about to go down on the plat, and it's going to be Scrapper who gets that. Scrapper at 5 and 2, literally the kill leader in the game so far. And you're quite right, Major, to point out, you know, that little bit of caution. They've been playing information. They've been playing angles really well, and it's just paid dividends for them as they take the lead 3-2 and look like a completely different team from the hardpoint side that we watched. And we did say, you know, there's this potential for these to be like, you know, CMG's S&D boys or some. You know, it's not that surprising when you see teams who aren't maybe that good at respawn suddenly come to life in the S&D, and Bocage obviously allows you the team to kind of throw the cat among the pigeons. It's a smaller map, it's a lot faster paced. Right now, Destroy just trying to you know, needs to get back off the struggle bus and start to get some kills, because 1 and 4, you know, he was slow to the hard point to get good, and right now, you know, it just feels like the momentum is with Valravn.
And first blood again goes in favour of the boys in red. Destroy on this outer tank, though. Is he going to get the shots in? He's just going to back up, and now number 3 Lima going to try and make the trade. I believe it is now Genji for anyone who doesn't know. And also up top, we'll still have quite a lot of control. And at the moment, Iniquity really struggling just trying to get a peek here and get a pick. So now he's going to check the right corner. Oh my goodness, he's just been absolutely fried again. And look at that combined streak now at 9 between the 4 players on the side. And it will be Kez that finally stops that momentum. But my goodness, at the moment, they are slowly starting to run away a little bit with this in terms of kills, you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Kez left again in this awful position. This time he is able to get 1 kill, left himself in a 1v2, and a player you would normally say is very, very capable of doing this. He has got to get some information, so he is going to look to transition, just try and get a better angle. Unfortunately, he has managed to push himself out towards the busier part of the map. I'm sure he's not aware of that. He is going to try and get the plant. He gets tagged up. He's going to decide to dip with only 19 seconds remaining. It's only going to leave him 1 opportunity. Expect to see that transition over towards the B bomb site. It does look like the boys are just going to wait, though, from Valravn and give him the opportunity to get bombed down. But Major expect this to be pushed almost immediately.
Yeah, and Kez, can he manage to work a route here? Because he's off the scene. But this is the thing we flag up. Stick the bomb. Just go for it if you're there quick on the scene. Oh, Kez is going for the rabbit. He's got good reads. There has Lion, and Lion gets the kill. His teammate in Lima will grab the diffusion. It's going to be another round on the board for the boys at Valravn. 3 in a row now, I believe, from those lads, and it will be Lion and Lima combining for 6 in a row. But at the moment, a little bit of a momentum shift here, Pablo. And Iniquity just going to have to try and regain here, because it does feel as though they're not really kind of putting themselves in good positions to get the first bloods as we're used to seeing them do.
I think it's a little bit of complacency, mate. Honestly, I think they've just got the measure of them in the hard point. But maybe they're not. Their gun skill's not up to it. They've just got a little complacent, and they've started to try and play this less strategically, trade less, and just try and, you know, rely on individuals to get picks. And right now, it's not really working for them. So right now, I was going to say at some point, but really it needs to happen now. JT just got to get a grip of his team and just tell them. And as I say that, the boys from Valravn forget to pick the bomb up, so that's going to give them a little bit of an opportunity to potentially get set up and get into some positions and just play with a little bit more caution, because they have been throwing caution to the wind, and it's cost them 3 rounds on the run.
Yeah, so now, where will this first blood lie here in round number 7? In Valravn be very, very efficient at grabbing them. Again, really patient approach from the boys in red. Just waiting for that opening. Going to try and work something here. Careful though, Scraper. Oh my goodness, he's going to try and just dip out just a little bit, and it will be a first blood again. So Lion picks off 1 JT though, but look at Portal up top, surely going to trade out Destroy. Now all of a sudden it's going to be Kez alone once again. A lonely life on the search and destroy for these boys at the moment. He is just going to try and get some form of info for this next pick. But it looks as though the bomb is heading down over towards that B site, and with it being stuck, it's going to make it even harder now.
Yeah, he's still got a stun and still got a nade, but pushing across mid-map is going to be a difficult one for him. I don't think a player's seen him. They're still trying to transition, so this could be cheeky. He's going to get watched over from tree, and that's going to be a pretty easy one. And again, I mean, they just not watching that push across top grannies. No one there really paying any attention. Allows that player in Portal to get behind him. He gets a pretty easy kill. and Lion, in the end, they get set up quite nicely, despite the aggression from Kez to try and get onto the bomb quickly. And they're one round away from tying this game up from a position where we were talking about, can Valravn go toe-to-toe with them? Well, they've cut the toes of Iniquity off, and now they are absolutely, hot-footing it down the lane. So right now, Valravn looking very strong, and you wouldn't put it past them to do a 6-2. And you said it at the start of the game. You said this, after the hard point, don't be surprised if this just gets completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Oh, JT's going to get taken down again. So another first blood. How many can we count in this one? I'm pretty sure it's been 5 out of the 7 rounds that we've finished so far are going to go in their favor. And now bomb will go down. You can see the boys in blue all looking to try and get in position. Portal, though, going to absolutely fry Crawl off of that back tank. And that's an important position for him to get a kill. But now is Kez going to get some good timing? No, he's just going to get chased now. It looks as though Lion surely going to have him dead to rights. Kez has actually managed to worm his way away from it, and he will get the man off the bomb as well. So now 2 versus 2. They're still going on the hunt for these players, though. Destroy out the back. Big gunfight. He's not able to win it. So now can Kez manage to keep his team alive here in the search and destroy? He's only got to stay alive. But just a nick of time, and Kez is going to get spotted. They're going to get the kill. Are they going to get to the defuse in time? It looks as though they will, with 9 seconds remaining, and Valravn, wow, what a statement from them in the search and destroy, Pablo. They're going to tie it back up with a 6-2.
Yeah, absolute work right there. And not just proving that they're good as a team, the communication must be on point, the strategies are on point. Man, I think they're going to look tidy going potentially into the Tuscan Control, because their shots were on point as well. 6-2, Major, is, that is the equal slap back to that 100-point deficit that they were at in the first hard point. And some huge plays there across the board. No one really, Scrapper doing really well at the start of that S&D, but, the rest of the team coming good, and they were really good. I mean, one thing you got to suggest is they didn't get, clutched up against. There was no point where they were in a 2v1 situation and they got dealt with. They played that really smartly and really well, and that's given them that 1-all in this game. And mate, we are going to see that Gavutu hardpoint.
Yeah, well, this is why we don't call too much in Vanguard. I do envy the lads that manage to put bets on and win it on this game, because it's just so difficult to call sometimes. And there we go. We see a team that we don't know a huge amount, Pablo. They looked a bit ropey on the hard point, but they looked very good on the search and destroy, which is something that not necessarily easy to do, especially on a Bocage. To take this, a Bocage 6-2 is usually a sign that a team is very efficient on search and destroy, and they've done exactly that. And all of a sudden now they're looking towards the next map to try and string a couple of maps together and take the lead.
Yeah, because normally you'll find a team under that kind of pressure. Once it hits like 4-2, the team on 2 will normally just start to play like hyper aggressive, or they'll go super cautious and just try and change the gameplay. Right there, though, it didn't matter what the boys from Iniquity did. There was an answer, and it was answered back with force from the boys from Valravn, who I mean, at times just looked impeccable. They left Kez in a 1v2, 1v3 situation at least 2 or 3 times, and you pointed it out mid-game, mate, how many times they got first blood. It's just ridiculous, and that is the key to it, especially on a map that small. You get that first blood, the size of the geography, it's huge. It's so, for bomb site control, you get that bomb down, and now that we've got this exposed A bomb site, it gives them the opportunity to get a ton of information. And we saw how difficult it was for Kez. Despite there only being 10 seconds, he still gets dealt with, and they still get the defuse to win the game.
Yeah, it just feels as though like is Zeppelin having a little row. I think I heard the little pitter-patter of Zeppelin on the mic. I knew
just come back from his walk, and he knows that he gets the street after his walk.
I knew it. Zeppelin's ready for map 3, and hopefully we will be very shortly, guys. They're getting lobbied up. Map number 3. But yeah, you talk about kind of first bloods normally in search and destroy are an important factor, but like you mentioned on Bobcars, if you get that first blood and you're 4 versus 3, even if you're just going to hit something quickly, normally at this level of Call of Duty, you'd anticipate that numbers and kind of efficient trades will come through for the team that's got that additional man. So Iniquity, it felt as though every round, it felt as like they were kind of battling uphill every single round. It was almost like an opportunity for a player to kind of get them out of the ditch that they dug themselves. And Samuel and Eve as well, thank you very much for the follows, guys, much appreciated. But yeah, looking into this control, you definitely feel as though, I mean, they looked good on it yesterday, to be fair. Iniquity, they managed to win it 3-1 against Excalibur, so you'd anticipate they'd be good at it again here, but they probably got a little bit of a wake-up call there in that map too, you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. And more surprisingly was the fact that JT and Cruel were the players that were, invariably getting first blooded, that little bit of extra aggression time after time, pushing through from mid towards trench, pushing through into lower grannies, just getting dealt with almost immediately. And at no point did they look like they were in control of that map. So going into a Tuscan Control, if these guys are fired up and map 1 was an anomaly, we could be ready to eat some early words, because, they could turn this Tuscan Control on its head, especially if they're able to get a defense first and just even in the attacking sense. The one thing I would suggest is if they're that good strategically in S&D, it does bode quite well for them potentially getting that really important individual tick over towards B early doors, which we do see some teams do. They will push, 3 players across to B, get that 1 player on A to draw the other team in, get that tick on B, get dealt with, then go and collapse A and leave themselves an opportunity to maybe get the rest of B. But if they don't, they've got the 4 ticks, and then as they kind of like tumble through the series, they may then end up with that important defensive side. So, if they're able to strategize as well as they've just done on Bocage, there is literally nothing stopping them doing the same in the Tuscan Control. The only factor might be that if everyone from Iniquity fires on all cylinders, they could turn it into a TDM and then use their what we've seen so far, especially in Respawn, better gun skill to their advantage.
Yeah, it definitely feels as though if Iniquity can kind of rattle the pace of the game and just keep it lights out, it will be one where it will probably favour them, as what we saw on that Bocage hardpoint. As soon as they started getting into the swing of things and the likes of JT, Kez and Cruel were starting to really flow around the map, that's where you start to think, okay, probably the slaying ability in quick pace from what we've seen anyways will probably favour Iniquity. But, I mean, we've been proven wrong in the search and destroy potentially there. I mean, it could be one where Valravn, it could be another one of these teams, Pablo, that we see time after time that are just slow to get going. We know the boys are mistaken, have been like it for large chunks of the year. Valravn could be another roster like that, and all of a sudden they could then come absolutely frying in the Tuscan and all of a sudden 2-1 up.
Let's face it, we're at that point in the season, if you look back onto Cold War, when we were kind of settled into the CCL and the ACCL and the games and people that we were casting over, and it was around this point in the season that we started to see the likes of Higgy come through, who we hadn't necessarily seen before, the likes of Kez come through, who we hadn't necessarily seen, and obviously players you mentioned before, Scooty and Scotty. And, this is that time of the season now where we might start to see players that we haven't necessarily had an opportunity to cast over that might just be really, really good players. So, we might be forced to eat our words, in the hole, and it might leave Iniquity with an opportunity to go back to the lab and be like, who the hell are these guys? They played so well. So let's not be too surprised if the likes of Scrap or the likes of Portal just turn up in Tuscan Control, players that we haven't seen, in any way, shape or form before. So big moment coming up for them in Tuscan Control, because one thing, we would suggest is that Gavutu hardpoint, the boys from Iniquity are very, very good at it. So regardless of the capabilities of the boys from Valravn, they're going to be up against it in that Gavutu. So this is their big opportunity right now to really surprise everyone, and let's see what they're made of.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see kind of who's on that attacking side first, because if it's Iniquity, we saw it yesterday, kind of that ability to just really hit that B lane quick. So it wouldn't surprise me if they try and do a similar strategy today and kind of catch that team off guard, because it's one on Tuscan where, especially now we don't have the issue of life count, players now have an opportunity and more kind of a reason just to kind of throw themselves at the kind of the more difficult one to take, because they don't have to worry about lives, they don't have to worry about, oh man, we're not going to be on that defensive side potentially because of it. So it'll be interesting to see kind of who is going to hit that attacking side first, and it will actually be the boys in blue who are going to do it, Pablo. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do, if it's going to be an exact copy of yesterday, and it looks as though that is going to be the case. So number 7 Portal is going to be a busy boy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a legitimate response to this. If you do well to get a 4-piece in there, Lima is going to be in radio there, just trying to get the cross, but again, going to be very difficult for him to get a play there, and that's a huge kill from Destroy. They're going to look to get JT. That early tick in, very important to get stacked. JT with a 2-piece. Oh my days, Kez absolutely destroys Scrapper, and it's going to be a nice stack. Right now, mate, those 2 ticks going down in progress is flying a B.
Yeah, so they've still got the man alive over towards that snipe. Destroy is just going to dip out though, but at the moment 3-0, he is tearing through them at the moment. Is he going to snap onto Lima? No, Lima's going to come out on top of that one, but the 2 ticks has been completed. Valravn going to have to try and steady the ship a little bit, and it looks like that's what they're going to try and do. Lion over towards this site is just going to get on towards that Godheady. Potentially wait for a pick here. Destroyer is going to be there to try and help Crawl out, who does manage to get towards that middle block, and Kez is going to get a pick as well. So now the contest comes through. Who is going to trade out who more efficiently? Kez with another kill as he's still alive on towards that point. He is going to just try and keep his head down. Destroyer is going to look to try and reinforce him as Scrapper is going to come through for the flank. Nothing comes of it, so that A progression slowly working its way up. But I mean, you can see already Pablo, number 2 JT, he wants that B point done already, and you can see those red arrows. They are desperately running over towards that point because the progression is coming through.
And the time stopped as well. You've got to think this is beautiful if you are an Iniquity esports fan. They've got control of B, and the time stopped, and they've got to play it over towards A. So, again, even if they're not able to do this in terms of, like, even if they don't win this attacking round, just in terms of the ticks that they've been able to get, this could be absolutely huge, because right now they've got parallel. It's almost a race to see which point will get secured first. It is going to be A, but that is an important 5 points on an attacking round right there, and that could be huge for Iniquity. More importantly, we are going to see them just try and push forward. But Major, it's been such a good team performance from them. They've moved as a team, they fought as a team, and it's something, you know, sometimes we see these points kind of get fed over and over again by individuals. My days, Destroy just puts Lima into the bin with that sideways push, and again, just really great plays. But mate, you cannot fault the gun skill from the boys in blue right now.
Yeah, Destroy at the moment, he's looking a different breed. He's going to finally fall though on that occasion. So only 4 kills in a row from him, and Crawl is waiting the opportunity to get on towards the point. He will get on towards it now, but look at all those red arrows, man, up top towards Radio. There's one on Plat as well. He'll do well to stay alive. He does actually still get quite a bit of progression coming through here, and I'll tell you what, somebody's got to at least fly onto the point and contest it surely any second now. Yeah, they will finally get him out of it, but now 7 lives plays 9, so a good regain here from the boys of Valravn, and it will now be a deficit that favours them on this occasion. But now next gunfights are going to be big. JT doing his best to do what he normally does and stay alive. He somehow manages to stay alive on towards that area of the map, but now can they get the picks? Destroy's going to take down a couple as they look to try and just fly their way through, and now Portal's got to do well to stay alive, and he's not going to be able to as Destroy is just cutting through players left, right, and centre, and now the progression comes through. Are they going to get this done? Just need to try and stay alive on the point. Surely it gets done, and it does.
That is an important attacking round, and what a beautiful way, you know, if you are a young team watching this who don't really know how to deal with Tuscan control, well, that out from the outset was impeccable attack and play. They get a tick over towards B, they put an immense amount of pressure. I think, in fact, they got 2 ticks off the rip. Then, you know, they're able to get over to A and get themselves a solid 2 ticks and just get control of that A lane. And then it becomes an absolute nightmare for Valravn, who are fighting on 2 fronts, which is almost impossible, and they get dealt with. Much more conventional push now from Valravn as they look to get that early A control, look to get those ticks down. They're already Cruel around the back. He does get tagged up from that player, number 6. I think it's going to be Lion, who does look for the flank. But again, this is going to be really difficult for the boys to try and imitate, though. Valravn, not necessarily with the same kind of firepower that we've seen from Iniquity. So, big moment right now. Can they slap back, and can they break back, more importantly, the serve of Iniquity esports?
Yeah, JT commanding over this right-hand lane will only be able to grab 1 pick onto Lion. Now window opens, Kez surely hears that. The stun comes through as they try and stun check him on towards the steps. But Kez, Portal absolutely fries him. Just lands on his head pretty much and manages to get the pick. So that A progression is still coming through, and over towards that B site as well. JT is going to be a busy lad indeed. He does have Kez with him, but meanwhile over towards the A point, the contest is still coming through, so it's a really big split. They do manage to take Scraper down over towards that B point, and it looks as though the contest will be for long enough as they manage to clear out some players. So good work there by the boys in blue, Pablo, and now you'd anticipate that they try and lock down these lanes and see this round off potentially.
Yeah, this is like big cross map kind of geography they've got hold of. They've got to have information right the way across. If they do try and push through, you're going to see that player. That is a nice 2-piece there from Scrapper and Portalo as they deal with those players, and this is their opportunity potentially to try and rush through. They are looking to take geography a little bit at a time, but that's going to allow number 1 in Cruel to get behind the team. Right now, they are being picked slowly apart, and this is the problem. If you're not able to kind of burst through onto that hill and stack it, you're going to get picked off slowly but surely. And again, it does look like the boys from Iniquity are just going to take back control of that B side. And again, no ticks to B and only 1 over to A, and with 17 seconds remaining, this has been a solid defense from Iniquity and just not the most imaginative attacking round from the boys in Valravn.
Yeah, Crawl is going to be on his own. There's a lot of bodies here. Crawl takes down 1. There's going to be another man behind him, and he takes down the second as well. Crawl is going to beam 2 players before he does finally fall. But is the damage potentially going to be done here? Destroy is waiting. Blank. Oh my goodness, can he get some god timing? Oh, he's going to get in literally the complete opposite as he gets shot in the back. So 7.5 seconds remaining. And now Iniquity, 3 lives to the good. But how many more opportunities are they going to try and throw at this one to take the players down? And there's an opportunity. Crawl with the timing takes down 1. But again, they've still got that man in Lion just out the back, just refusing to move. And they do buy themselves that additional minute, Pablo. But more importantly, it's the lives they've got to be careful of. But nice work there from Leon. Gets another one.
Yeah, they're only a 2 life differential right now for Iniquity esports, so still plenty of opportunity. Well, we say plenty of opportunity, Major. That really only shapes up to be 2 solid pushes, and if they get taken down one at a time as the players from Iniquity try and take up as much geography as possible around that B site, this could be a problem for them. They are going to need to regroup and potentially look at this as being 2 solid 4-man pushes, because if they get picked apart, this could be one push at the end of the day, and they could find themselves on the receiving end of a 2-0, and then it's going to be really difficult for them to bite back. They might get a defensive round, but you know, you've got to look at the long game. Iniquity are going to go into that 4th round with the defense and with their tails high up in the air. Lion, though, is on a big killing spree. 8 versus 5. They brought this back. You know, maybe they can start to consider the TDM style. They have got to get a lot of kills, though. 3 players have got to drop 6 players in the remaining 17 seconds.
So what, Portal, you can get on the point. Might be able to make something work. Oh, man, he's just going to run out of bullets. I think he picked up an automaton there that literally had 1 bullet remaining, and it's some bad, unfortunate timing and luck for him there. So now all of a sudden, Draper, the last one up, he will fall, and it's going to be another round on the board for the boys in blue. Iniquity looking very good on the control, Pablo. We saw it yesterday, and again, they're doing it here. That pace and aggression for them, just to kind of hit the right lanes, is definitely paying off for them at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're Iniquity right now, it's like back to the lab for Bakar, Search and Destroy. But right now, Tuscan is looking at really good for you. You got that really early lead. You broke save with the attacking round. You got players absolutely flying in terms of interactions. Destroy on an 18 and 10, and it's just huge plays. More surprisingly, though, it's one thing we haven't really spoke about in this Tuscan's control. Scrapper, nearly double negative. A player who's had an impressive hardpoint despite the loss and a really good S&D is absolutely fell off the face of the earth, mate. Fell off Tuscan. Who knows where he is right now, because he's 8 and 13, and Cruel is going to just get that little bit of time, and that's a nice bit of A control. So again, just throwing the cat among the pigeons in terms of where they've decided to go. Completely different attacking strategy, and that maybe have bamboozled the boys in red. It does look to get that double jump shot, and the kills are going to go back and forth. So it is Valravn who managed to take back control of A. They're going to push right out, but look at those arrows, Major, pushing straight across, and that's the kind of aggression you need if you want to take any time on B.
Yeah, and might or may not have seen it, but it was a really actual subtle strategy from Iniquity. They just kind of hid the players over towards A, almost waited for Valravn to say, right, nothing at A, quick wrap to B, and then all of a sudden they had an opportunity to kind of flood it when they didn't anticipate the players were going to be there. So a really subtle but smart play coming through from the boys of Iniquity Esports, and now this B progression, this is going to be worrying here, and Kez wins another important gunfight over towards Platts. They don't have that player on the flank, and now Lion, big gunfight, able to win one, but they've still got the progression coming through as Kez is going to get that first tick over the line. He's going to do well, though, to stay alive. He's just going to try and tuck himself away into the corner, but that A progression is now complete. 1 minute 40 on the clock, and Kez still just lurking, being a nuisance in the spawn of the players of Valravn at the moment. He will work his way back up towards Platt, as Scrapper's going to be underneath him, and a big gunfight win there coming through for him. But with 1 tick already done, Pablo, Iniquity, all they need to do is, as we say it, just stack the hill if they get the kills.
Yeah, but this is the thing. They're now a kind of a life equity. They're parity, sorry, of 16 out of 14. As I say, parity, they managed to drop a few players. So one thing, if you are Valravn, you've got to be worried about Destroy with a big nade that one JT. That could play dividends to the boys in Valravn as they managed to regain B-side control. But this is the thing, you know, they've only got 1 minute 10. They could potentially go under in terms of life count. You can see just how patient the boys in blue are. They're looking to try and get themselves set up. But Major, that is a beautifully strong setup right there from Valravn. The question is, are they going to be able to deal with this initial push? Then potentially we're going to see a big scrap in radio. Is going to be the initial one. Number 1 looking to get that pick, but number 7 is outside, and it's going to be Portal just waiting for that push. Scrapper gets the kill, but he's traded out almost immediately as we see kills go back and forth. Destroy does deal with that player in radio, and we're going to see Kez back in this familiar position towards the back of the hill. Is he going to get this next kill? That's huge. And then is again Iniquity trying to get that little bit of bomb site control, but 9 lives plays 7, still 30 seconds left in this game.
They really need to try and get Kez out the back here, because with 7 lives left, he gets a few picks. And Kez going to check the right corner. Well, JT's going to manage to grab a pick, and you can see Destroy watching the flank, and the big brain plays there from Destroy, just making the reads that player is going to come through, and it does come through for him. But I'll tell you what, the kills are also coming through for Lion as he manages to tear through 2 players in quick succession. Kez again, just still, his hot spot on this map is pretty much all down this back alley side as he's going to finally fall. And with 5 seconds remaining, they just need somebody to get on the hill and contest, and Crawl just going to fly out into no man's land there. He's going to drop literally 0.2 of a second left. Can they stay alive? No, they can't. And Valravn finally get around on the board. A much-needed one as well, because that was looking for stages that it might be a swift 3-0.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a point there where you just felt a little bit more aggression from the team in blue. They might be able to burst their way onto hill, but really nicely defended in the end. A lot more like a conventional Tuscan control, which we've seen, you know, over the last few months. A lovely defense in the end, but again, 2-1, and it's going to be the boys in blue on the defensive side. So right now, momentum shifts right the way over to Iniquity ESports, and again, destroyed 26 and 17. One feature of this game, though, is streaks. We haven't seen a lot of players on streaks. Right now, Lion is close as possible on the 5. He only needs 2 more kills. And will that change the way he plays? Is he going to look to get trades and maybe get players who are tagged up?
Oh, no.
We're going to see Portal with a quick kill. Scrapper drops, Portal drops, Lion comes off that streak major. So more importantly, it is not just going to be a blue kill feed, but that potential streak, which could be absolutely important in tying this game up, does go out the window, and Cruel is going to be in the back to apply a little bit of cruelty to the boys in red.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Cruel's got his running shoes on at the moment because he is everywhere, it feels like. He's going to get another pick onto Scrapper in the back. But look at the progression that the boys in blue have managed to make up the map. Kez is going to try and do exactly the same here and work a little bit of a lane. He's just waiting for the green light to maybe make the play. Surely the info from Cruel is going to be there. Here goes Kez round the back. Can he take down Lima? So the first gunfight goes in favour of him, and he's got another man in Destroy to help him out, and they are mopping up red arrows left, right, and centre. And oh my god, well, there's a clean wipe there as Cruel takes down 2, combining for 9 with the remaining teammates of Iniquity. And at the moment, this is looking like a brutal defensive round. Valravn, they have got to stop the leak quickly, Pablo, because this is getting out of hand quick.
Oh, it's a 9-life lead, and right now they are, every time they get forward, there's a player behind them. Finally deal with that player, but it is going to be a push in the end. That's a huge kill from Lima on Cruel, giving them some B-side control, but they need to stack this hill. They need those 3 players to get on. Number 5 needs to catch up as well and start to deal with those players in radio. Otherwise, this is going to be a point, you know, that they're not going to be able to take one tick over at B, and they're going to get dealt with. That's a huge kill, though. Portal, unfortunately, does drop Lion, and JT pulls out the James Bond handgun and manages to kill everyone and Destroy, doing the damage over him with 7 seconds remaining. This is going to be a solid performance right there. Finally, we see Valravn get onto the hill, but Cruel again in the back. Scrap is going to tag him up. Major, from a point we thought they were going to be able to potentially do this. It's been a huge defense from the boys in Iniquity, and with 1 second remaining, it is going to be Scrapper having to do the hero's role right now.
Yeah, big one-on-one, and oh, he's just able to win it, and he's got the teammates to reinforce him. So with 5 lives remaining, my goodness, they are going to have to play this perfectly. There's another one down to 4. The trade comes through, but Iniquity, they can just play lives. They can play this patiently. They can let them have the A point because it looks pretty much doom and gloom. JT with 1, Destroy with the 2nd, and now it's all falling apart now. There's only 2 players remain. Ooh. Make it 1. Lima is the lone man. 1 versus 13. Luckily, it's not a Friday for him because at the moment it is going to be a really difficult position anyways, and Destroy round on the pinch does manage to take him down. Still got 12 more players to go through. He won't manage it, and Iniquity with a very, very strong map number 3.
Yeah, where do you start with that one? From the outset, Iniquity just looked in control from that very first B push where they got 2 ticks over. Right from the outset, they were playing at 20 miles an hour faster than Valravn could ever dream of. Kills, accuracy, gun skill, the whole works right there. You know, Destroy drop on a 34 and 22, 26 non-traded kills. You know, for a player who literally came to life in that Tuscan control, that's exactly what you want really out of your teammates is, you know, if you're having a bad game, let them pick up the slack and then you just come good during another round, and he does that. And they're going to be heading now into a Gavutu hardpoint where Iniquity have looked absolutely, you know, dominant. Yeah. So big moment right now for Valravn. They are still in with a fight, and they can clearly play Call of Duty. But the question is, are they going to be able to go toe to toe with a very, very solid side that is Iniquity Esports?
Yeah. So the worrying thing, if you're a Valravn fan, is Destroy had a very, very good map. And last time I remember, he had a very, very good map on the Gavutu as well. So now he looks as though potentially he's arrived to the party. You're now looking kind of at those AR roles on the side of Valravn because they're going to have to try and keep him quiet now for the remainder of the series. These last 2 maps are very AR heavy. So if he's on firing on all cylinders, like it looks as though he is finally now, this is going to be really, really worrying for Valravn.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is one of the key concerns, is that Destroy's woken up, loves a respawn, but he's going to be backed up now by some, you know, Kez for a start as a player that you don't want to go up against in a Gavutu hardpoint. And JT again has been absolutely lights out for the whole game, apart from the S&D where he got first blooded quite regularly along with Cruel. This could be his big opportunity to redeem himself, and this is one player we know can have mid-series regain. So Gavutu are thinking it's time to get the buckets and spades out, because this is going to be an interesting interesting one. More interesting from the perspective of Valravn, just to see how they're going to be able to cope with it and how they're going to be able to step up to the plate. In particular, Major, is, one player we've got to look to is Scrapper. He had a great first 2 games despite the hardpoint loss. He had a terrible Tuscan control. It was, double up to some points. It was double negative. So, he's got to come good now. He's got to, pick himself up, dust himself off, and see if he can come good on the beach.
Yeah, it looks as though he's the player kind of on the side of Valravn that he's going to have a good game. His team look as though they're going to have a good game as well. It's obviously one where it helps that you've got a particular player doing well, but as we saw on the Search and Destroy, when he was firing on all cylinders, his team did very, very well. So you'd look to, I would say, if either Destroy or Scrapper have a good game, it's probably going to be the team where that player kind of pops off potentially. That would be my guess anyways. It wouldn't surprise me if Destroy does very, very well on this map again. From what we've seen, kind of his positional awareness and stance in that AR role. He's obviously a much slower paced assault rifle player from what we've seen, but when he's locked in position, he reads the game very, very well, Destroy, from what I've seen. He's always kind of making that heads-up play, that big brain play, and kind of, as an assault rifle player, you don't need to be cracked out of your head, flying around everywhere. We see a lot of kind of the slower-paced AR players. I know Snake, for example, Luke gets a lot of stick for being a stiff assault rifle, but nobody likes to play against him because if you're firing against him, he's going to be on a head glitch, he's going to be in a power position, and it's so difficult on these larger maps to command any sort of control if you can't take those players out of those power positions. And at the moment, Troy, when he's locked in, especially from what we've seen, especially in that last map, he's very, very difficult to budge.
Listen, the only players complaining the players are stiff are the ones getting domed when they try and flank around the back or try and push through that power position and just get bodied. That's why they are power positions. That's why those headies are there, so that those players can just literally, drop that AR down and just absolutely own that lane. It's been Call of Duty strategy since, the very beginning of Call of Duty. That has been the, before we had jetpacks, before we had any kind of different strategy, you had a strong AR. These are the Crim Sixes, your methods of the world. They were strong AR players who held the lane. It wasn't flashy, it was disgusting at times, but it was effective and it won you games, it won you tournaments and won you money. So, Snake Cod exactly is the kind of player you want to look to. You want a player who can potentially hold the lane, and we're going to see that potentially with Destroy as well. We've seen how strong he can be over towards that P1, effectively controlling both P3 and P4 from that gun side. Normally we see that from both, but he did such a good job from the artillery gun. It was refreshing to see just that change as well, but expect him to put some big numbers up.
Yeah, so we are now loading in towards Gavutu hardpoint, and how many times? I mean, you got a penny every time we said it, Pablo. P3, P4, that's the one that we always say makes or breaks a lot of these teams, especially if they get blown out the water, pardon the pun, on Gavutu. But yeah, you're looking towards kind of those slower paced players to almost make sure that team has the rotation, has those players in those positions to enable the remainder of those players to almost kind of do the work around them, so to speak. We saw yesterday JT was very, very good at keeping his head down in those hills, especially on P3, to allow his teammates to just shoot over the top of him. Literally just keep your head down. We sometimes flag up players for trying to do a little bit too much. So it looks as though it's one where if those players keep their head down on those money hills, that's probably the team that's going to come out on top here.
Absolutely, yeah, and this has been a nice little flank around the back from Dome, but is he going to get two? He does get two shots, and he manages to drop Kez, and Cruel JT manages to pick him up and gets to two pieces. He drops line as well. Really nice start for Iniquity. They managed to get themselves a healthy 18-second lead, but it is going to be Valravn just back on the hill, and they're going to feed some kills. Paul is going to get that trade out for Scrapper as he drops Cruel, and that's been a nice little, take over of P1, and we've already got a player in line in and around both, but he does get dealt with. But again, really nice play from Valravn. They tie things up, and as we head into the latter part of our first hill, it's going to be a big fight going down towards P2. There's a boat, and no one with real control at the minute. We've got players on top of the boat, but right now it's going to be Scrapper who gets in. He's going to just make his way towards the back to try and get that top boat control. He's going to get one player in, Cruel just trying to deal with him. He does tag that player up, but that's huge kill right there from Cruel, doing a great job of controlling that boat.
Yeah, I think it was Portal or Line that tried to jump over the top, kind of hit the side of the boat, just plummeting
that's
downwards.
My movement right there.
Yeah, that's literally us in a nutshell in rank play, isn't it? Just absolutely bouncing off of pretty much everything. But good work here from the boys of Valravn. They are going to still have quite a lot of presence in towards the hill, but likewise are Iniquity. Kez is going to get a couple of shots into line, who is just commanding that portion of the middle map, and now this is a big gunfight for Destroy, and he's not able to win it. And now Scrapper, he's making that big brain play, Pablo, the one that we talk about. He gets that pick, and rather than trying to just get more kills and push out some respective lanes that he doesn't necessarily need to. He makes the rotation, and it looks as though his team are ready to go for P3. So potentially, Iniquity are going to have to pull their finger out here to make this break, because it will not be easy.
Well, look at this fight we've got going on right now. This is exactly what we talked about. It was between Scrapper and Destroy. Scrapper gets dealt with in the end by Kez, but Destroy manages to play his life. Scrapper did so well at controlling from this P1 point, but now Destroy is in that position. And this is what we talked about earlier on, that if the boys in Iniquity are able to get onto this hill and able to get any kind of control, this could be a problem. But right now, Valravn doing really well dealing with those players. Again, number 5 and Destroy still hasn't been dealt with in and around that rock area, but he's too frightened to pull out, and it is potentially going to get dealt with. He gets a huge kill there on Portal. Cruel manages to back things up, and Major, the kill feed is going the way of Iniquity as they manage to get control on the 30-second mark, and that could be huge for them, especially if they can hold this. And Major, look at the big brain play there from Mr. Tizzle.
Oh my goodness, JT's got to stay alive though. He is being absolutely hunted by Portal, but JT, good work. Stays alive out the back. There is going to be a contest over towards the scrap time. You can see between number 5 and 2 in line, and JT's going to get mopped up and taken down. So now this is an important break potentially, and now Cruel going to work his way forwards. Takes down 1. He's still got Scrapper out the back, and he stays alive again. So a big rotational hold from him, and his team now going to be in a position to push this lead out themselves. Kez is going to try and work his way down that beach side. It's not going to be easy though. With Scrapper here just watching down the lane with this auto. Is he going to get the shots in? Yes, he is. Nice, accurate shots there again from Scrapper, and 2 kills in the back. But you can see Pablo, meanwhile, he's done such a good job of staying alive. But at the moment, Iniquity, they are just punching from the front.
Yeah, absolutely. They just, as much as he's doing the heroics from the left-hand side, his team have completely let him down on the right, and they've just allowed Iniquity to just push over that natural bridge and get control of the right-hand side, and they're doing something we generally only see the likes of Rocket do, which is control from the front, and they've got that. Again, they've managed to get themselves a dirty amount of scrap, well, you would call it scrap time, but it was 25 seconds, so that's a solid chunk of hill time, and again, you can see that player look at number 5, Destroy, trying to make his way all the way around the back just to try and get some control of P5. Still a little bit of time left on Old. Now we're looking at a 30-40 second lead, and this is going to be big plays now because they are coming in from all angles.
Big pick. That was a really big pick coming through from Cruel. JT's going to manage to take one down before Destroy does drop. So now Cruel and JT, can they play for streaks here? You can see Portal is still lurking out the back here, and they might not know he's there, but the blue arrows come flying through. They get the picks, and that is exactly what they needed to do. Kez can now just keep his head down on the hill, and now they cannot afford to give JT a glide bomb here, because that will guarantee them at least one important money hill rotation if he uses it well. He's just going to wait, and meanwhile, Cruel is going through the work at the moment as he's now 5 in a row. So now take your pick. Who's going to manage to get streaks first? It looks as though JT's going to get some shots in for the next pick. Destroy takes down 1. Can he manage to take Dome down? He's so weak. Just underneath there, Cruel. Is he going to go for the chow? Both players playing incredibly cautiously. JT still going on the hunt for that player. Can he get it? Yes, he can. 7 in a row now for JT. Cruel now going to look to try and join him, because if they get 2 glide bombs, Pablo, this is going to be really, really brutal for the boys of Valravn.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a team that doesn't need glide bomb control in order to maintain control of the map. But he is going to get domed there, and it is going to be Dome in the middle of the map who takes him off that streak. JT still worryingly is on his streak right now, so not being dealt with. He hasn't fell yet, despite Scrapper managing to TK a player. And we've seen a lot of TKs go down as the Chaos of P1 in the second rotation just gets in full swing, Major. We do see Valravn, though, with some nice control. Expect to see that potential glide coming out any second now, just to try and get some control with 30 seconds remaining. They're not going to allow these boys in red to get that kind of full kill time, because right now they're just battling for every single second. JT looking dirty right now, though. He does fall in the end. I think one of the things that was still holding him back was the fact that he wasn't able to actually get killed in order to get into a position to drop the glide out. Destroy is going to make his way over to the natural bridge, though, and just get that overwatch we know he's so capable of doing. He's going to be in that top boat position, and this is Major, the place. If you are in the opposition, you do not want to be pushing across that bridge with this player and Destroy there. And as I say, that cares off the cast there.
Yeah, he gets taken down, and that kill feed very, very red. Valravn do a good job here in the rotation. Again, second time of asking, and Portal managed to take down JT. Dome's going to drop Destroy as well. And wow, I'll tell you what, they're on an absolute tear at the moment. They finally managed to take Portal down. Does 4 on 4 in a row. But now only 40 points the difference, and wow, this is surprising. JT's actually going to call the glide bomb out already, so he wants to try and stop the leak, and that glide bomb gets you absolutely nothing, albeit they've got the spawns for the next hill, Pablo, but potentially a bit of a surprising use of the streak there. He gets absolutely nothing out of it. I'll tell you what, though, they do actually manage to get their way in, so although it's not a kill that comes from the glide bomb, they do actually funnel those players inside, but you can already see, Pablo, Valravn, they're rotating over towards the next hill, and they don't have that glide bomb anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing we saw in that search is strategically they know what they're doing. They've managed to transition at a reasonably good time. That's a big kill over towards P1. Cool, looking to just provide that cover over towards that artillery gun just to make sure that they get some control. He does get tagged up, so the next few kills all important from an Iniquity standpoint if they want to see that this potentially be the final kill. But right now, Valravn with a solid amount of geography right in front of this P3 hill. So really would suggest advantages with them, but if they can pick up these kills right now, there's going to be a big gunfight over towards artillery as Cruel Major again towards the end of the game just comes to life, and that kill feed goes entirely the way of Iniquity Esports. And Major, you know, for a team that can get complacent on Gavutu, they've actually started to step up towards the end of the game.
Yeah, and they can win off this hill at the moment. You can see Valravn, they're throwing everything at this one, but meanwhile Kez, unfortunately not going to be able to stay alive for long enough as he does get taken down. JT, though, looking just to try and put more bullets in as he takes down one player. JT out the back. There's still going to be another man in Lion, and there's another kill for JT as he's looking to try and put these boys to the sword. They can't win off this hill, but my goodness, they can get oh so close. And look at number 5, Destroy. He's locked up the top of mid-map, the combined 12 streak between him, Cruel, and JT. And there's another one for him. They are cutting them down one at a time. That is going to be Curtains and Destroy, ending it in emphatic style as he rips off the heads of the remaining players, and Iniquity will end up taking it, Pablo, 250 to 136, and more importantly, 3-1 in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a solid performance in the end, and a mirror image of the scoreline from last night. And again, they look solid in every respawn. Just back to the lab, I suppose, on Bakars S&D. But right there, you've got a lot across the board. What a performance from everyone. Kez probably on the struggle bus a little bit there, but you know that those were big kills he was probably getting. Kez, again, a player who can just turn it on and off at any given time. But really reliant on Destroy just to lock those lanes down, and he did just that to bring that victory to the boys from Iniquity in the end. And 3-1. Emphatic in the end, despite that massive hiccup in the Bakars S&D. Back to the lab on that one, Major, but great performance from the boys from Iniquity again.
Yeah, so just confirmation coming through there. Iniquity, they are going to take it in the 4th map. So they look incredibly strong in the respawns, especially on the hard points, to be fair to him. And Rayman wants the Major. Thank you very much, buddy. And wow, good performance there from Iniquity. They go powering through, Pablo, and another win on the ball for them, doing exactly what they need to. Obviously, the search looking a little bit questionable in map number 2. Credit where it's due, though. Valravn did look very good on it. But they've still got stuff that they can kind of dust up on, but a good performance from those boys nonetheless, and now 2-0 in the groups.
Yeah, really, and that's got to be a confidence builder for them. Despite that lapse, they just look so strong in respawn, and you know they're able to do it with players dropping off as well. So that's another good sign. You know, one thing we do say about really good sides is, you know, when one player isn't firing on all cylinders, the rest of the team pick up the slack, and they tend to play quite well. You know, we've seen it in some of the bigger teams earlier in the season when they had one player drop off. It was so detrimental to their performance. Well, when you see that from the top teams, when they have a player drop off and they're able to still win games, you know that's a great time. Well, Iniquity Esports looking good in the bracket so far, looking solid. Was it a 3-0 yesterday? 3-0 and a 3-1. Yeah. So just really, you know, dropping one map, and it was you know, as absurd a map loss as you're ever likely to see. 6-2 on a Bakars S&D, which I'm sure, you know, JT himself will probably be like, we need to get back to the drawing board on that one. I am not getting beat 6-2 on Bakars again.
Yeah, so guys, that is going to be it from myself and Pablo this evening. GG's there, both Iniquity and Valravn. And if you guys can hop on the raid and show my mate Luke, he's just recently started streaming, so if you can go and show him some love. He's playing Apex at the moment, but I'm sure the raid will mean the world to him. So if you can hop onto his channel, drop him some follows, drop him some love as well, as you guys always show the channel. But me and Pablo should be back tomorrow for some more ACCL action. So that is going to be it from myself and Pablo. A big shout as well for all the gifted subs, the legends come through, and just for tuning in general. But we will catch you guys tomorrow for some more Call of Duty action. Cheers, guys. We will see you then.